Hi everyone, my name is Amanda Lormond and I'm the communications coordinator here at SE International. As we get closer to the SE virtual conference, we here at SEI have been getting very excited to share more and more with you about all that the conference has to offer. In an effort to offer you the very best and most engaging information, we interviewed Board Chair-elect Michele Solloway. Michele sits on the conference committee and offers a very passionate inside look into the development of the conference and all of the aspects that you can start getting excited for right now. She answers all of the questions that you've had in great depth. So let's meet Michele and see what she has to say.
So my name's Michele Solloway. I am on the board of directors. I've been on the board for 2 years. I'm the chair-elect, so next year I will be the chair of the board. And I really wanted to join the board because one, I wanted to feel more connected to the organization and really understand better what they do. And also, I really want us to promote SE as the preeminent trauma healing modality. And to do that, we need more evidence and more research and lots of things. But I'm just very passionate about SE. I come to SE from a bodywork perspective. So massage, polarity therapy, craniosacral work, energy work. And I find that SE is an amazing complement that, to all those different modalities. But I also have a long history of health services research. I've done a lot of work with child and family health, vulnerable populations. I've done a lot of work in the ACEs space. And what I really loved when I found SE is that SE is kind of like the link that brings everything together, because I also have some background in neuroscience. So SE just tied all those pieces together for me. So
I love that.
yeah.
And I love that your passion, it literally comes out at me as you're talking about it. And I think that's going to show as we continue to dig into the content today.
Conference is really a team sport, as I'm sure you already know from your own experience. So we have a committee that meets regularly, now weekly, that really has developed sort of the core of the agenda, the ideas, and the process that's working through all the technology issues. But we also, for purposes of selecting presenters, we had this be a competitive process. So we put out a call for abstracts and presentations, and people had to apply, and we got over 60 applications. Actually, I think we got close to 100. I don't know. We had tons of applications. We created a scoring rubric, and we created a subcommittee to review it. So we had people pair up in teams, and they were given 5 or 6 applications to review and score. And then we all came back together to identify the top scored applications. So it was a blind process. The people who were scoring it didn't know whose applications came from where or whom. And so they really had to be chosen on the merits of the application. So we ended up selecting 30 for the presentations. We also have a number of invited speakers and a number of plenary sessions, which are conversations that Peter has with various and sundry, friends and prominent people in the trauma world. The conference was originally, and still is, the purpose was to celebrate the life's work of Peter Levine and his legacy, but also to really bring us together as a global community, which we are. Now, the original conference was scheduled to be in person. And so what happened as COVID came on, we had to shift everything, like we did all of our trainings. We had to shift it all to an online virtual platform. So I think the experience is going to be kind of a heavy Zoom experience, although I will say that people will have the opportunity to revisit the sessions or see whatever they missed for 30 days afterwards. So people will be able to take it slower as a conference and to get all the materials at their disposal. So I think the biggest challenge is we have a lot of different types of things that we're doing. So we have a number of plenary sessions. We have movement and dance every day. We have a whole series of concurrent sessions. So we have a number of 3 concurrent sessions, and I think people's biggest challenge is going to be choosing which one they want to go to. But as I said, they'll be able to access all of it after the fact for 30 days. I'm so jazzed about the conference. I'm so pleased at how the agenda has worked out. I think people are going to thoroughly be engaged and amazed and enjoy it. And I wanted to say the other thing that we also wanted to do in this conference was really to feature the incredible diversity of SE applications and also what people are doing around the world. So we have some international sessions. We have a number of presenters who represent diversity, different populations, and I can talk a little bit more about that. The 6 conversation plenary sessions with Peter are with Efo Nayaki from Brazil, Stephen Porges, who I'm sure everybody's pretty familiar with, Edith Edgar, Jack Cornfield, who most people know from the meditation world, Dick Schwartz, and my favorite, Alanis Morissette. So
I think everyone's excited. Yeah.
Everyone's excited. We're trying to see if she wouldn't do a little, music for us, but I don't know if that's coming. We also have Diane Poole-Heller, Sabern Fisher, Daphne Lender, Chris Walling, and Ruth Lanius are invited speakers. We have 2 international roundtables featuring, these are still under development, but I think they're probably going to happen. One is with our European partner, EASE, the European Association of Somatic Experiencing, and ABT, which is located in Brazil, but that's really going to be more of a Latin America roundtable. And the purpose of the roundtables is to really talk about what's happening in their part of the world and what their challenges are and what they're expecting going forward. And I'm hopeful that in the future we'll be able to do more of these with other countries that we can feature. So, because I think the international piece of this, people don't realize always that we're in 40 countries around the world. Right. And so we have a lot of emerging markets around the world, and we really want to be featuring the international. We want to be more internationally forward facing. So to your other question about some of the other topics, we have topics on children and youth. We have topics on SE in the group format, birth trauma, SE and frontline providers, collective trauma, LGBTQ communities and marginalized communities, including working with deaf people. We have a number of research-oriented sessions. We have Qigong and breathwork, in addition to the daily movement and sessions that are before and after the conference. And we have SE and allergies and SE and scent, using scent as a way in for trauma, which is, really interesting.
Yeah,
I'm
very
excited
interesting
about that one.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm excited.
Well, it's truly robust. I mean, just hearing you talk about it right now, it is a little mind-blowing just to think about how much is being offered in this one virtual conference. And I think that people are going to be really excited when they learn just how much they can get out of one all access pass to the virtual conference. So that's really exciting.
That's a great question, and I'm glad you asked that. And the answer is absolutely, this conference is open to anyone and everyone. So while the sessions are, of course, very heavily focused on the modality of SE, we really are hoping to reach out to a much broader community of other people who work in the trauma space, other kinds of therapists, and just the general public who are interested in wanting to know more about therapy. I certainly have a number of friends, partly because I'm in this world, but people who aren't in this world are always very curious about what I'm doing and what it's like and what the therapy is like, what the modality is like. And I think this is just a wonderful opportunity, and we're doing some pretty widespread marketing. And we encourage everybody to tell their friends about the conference. because we would welcome anybody and everybody who wants to know about the modality or to know about what to do about trauma. Because one thing I can tell you that I have a private practice, and most people come to the private practice when everything else has failed. And
Right.
and people who come for body work have a lot of trauma but aren't articulating that it's trauma that's the underlying
Right.
issue. And so the more that people can really learn about this, the better off people will be in having information and resources to deal with trauma. And that said, we are truly at an inflection moment right now because of COVID. I mean, the entire world has experienced a traumatic event all at once. And people, of course, have experienced it in different ways and at different levels and have had different kinds of resources and whatever. But we kind of have a very unique phenomena that's happened, which is simultaneous, universal traumatic event.
This work has never been more needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One thing that stood out to me that a coworker said in a meeting the other day was, as we were kind of talking about the conference coming up, was that it's a wonderful opportunity for those who are interested in SE professionally to get their feet wet. And they may not be a part of the SE community yet, or they may not be students yet. They may not be an SEP, but it's a wonderful opportunity for them to get their feet wet and get an introduction to SE on a very deep level.
Yeah, and I think that what's great about SE and what I'm imagining most of the presenters are going to be doing, which is they're really talking about, how we hold trauma in the body, how we experience it, and how this modality actually helps address it to varying degrees of, detail, depending on the topic and the focus, but that this is something that anybody off the street would be able to understand. And yeah, and really be able to take something away from any of these sessions.
The Somatic Experiencing brand recently made a big transition from Somatic Experiencing Trauma Institute to Somatic Experiencing International. Can you speak to the significance that international piece plays in the conference?
SEI, SE International, has gone through a major metamorphosis in the last couple of years in terms of how we're organized, what we're doing. And I think that because historically, SETI was all about just the training and training practitioners in a 3-year program. And the rebranding really had several functions. One was to really acknowledge and be more forward facing about the fact that we are in 40 countries. And so we are an international modality and we have international partners. And it was really to promote the fact that this is a worldwide program and that people can get this pretty much, in many, many, many places in the world. And the second was to really highlight the fact that we are more than just a training institute. And we are starting to do many other things. We have plans to become a professional association. We're doing and promoting research. We are developing shorter programs that are for people who maybe don't want or can't afford or don't need a 3-year program. People who work, healthcare providers, police and fire, teachers, lawyers, social workers, a lot of people who interface with trauma every day with their clients or their, whoever they work with, and yet they don't need to become a somatic experiencing practitioner, but that will be very helpful for them to understand in terms of how they're approaching. There's been a huge push towards trauma-informed or trauma applicable organizations for people to really have what their workplace be informed about what trauma is, how people hold it, how they should arrange their organization to make it more friendly and accessible to people who are experiencing trauma. And I think that this is just really happening at this precipitous moment where we are all so much more globally connected than we have been in the past. And really to bring us all together as a singular community not that we're, I mean, not singular in the sense that we don't have, that we're uniform. We're a big tent. We have a lot of different cultures and a lot of different interests and desires and ways of doing this modality. And we want to be able to embrace all of that. Yeah, well, there's several ways in which we're going to be accessible, one of which I mentioned, which is the conference will be available after the fact. But also, we are going to be translating the sessions. And I think that will probably take maybe 5 to 7 days to get that up and running. So within a week of the conference, anybody around the world can be looking at a translated version. We're working out the details on that. That's not been finalized, but we do expect to do that. For sessions that are pre-recorded, we will have them subtitled. Because, for example, like the ABT, the Latin American Roundtable, will be in Portuguese and maybe also in Spanish, but it's pre-recorded because of a time frame. So this is something as an international organization, we have sort of a constant balancing act to do, how to make it accessible to people so they're not up in the middle of the night around the world. And one thing that we are planning to do is have this conference be international so that next year it would be hosted in a different country at a different time zone. And then those of us who are here in North America would have to accommodate to their time zones and their language. So we're hoping to make that a much more accessible experience. We also, for participants who have ADA requirements, when they register, they indicate that they have ADA needs, and then we provide those. We make sure those get provided. I just want to say, I think this is a really important time for the SE community and for people in general to really come together and be inspired and to learn and really understand what this amazing modality that Peter developed and how it's used so widely in so many different ways to learn more about that. You know, this pandemic, the trauma that's been caused by the pandemic has just been incalculable. And, you know, really, how do we support healing from this on a global level? And how do we meet the need for trauma resolution? And SE is one of the ways that can do that. I guess I'd like to just say one more thing. I'm Michele Solloway. I'm here. Please come join me at the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.